Would you rather start your mix out with tracks that sounded like this? Or with a track that sounds like this? If you watch this video all the way through, you'll learn my secrets to the old school recording in the box technique. Nearly 5 years ago, I released a video on this YouTube channel called Old School Music Recording Philosophy in the Box. Actually, it was a complete video series that also included mixing and mastering. Well, I think it's about time I update that video, don't you think? So the way I'm going to structure this lesson is to show you a basic chain, how I put it together, and then I'll show you some other plugins you can try for yourself, because I don't want to overwhelm you guys. So the basic philosophy behind this is that I want to modify recordings that were made with a clean, also known as transparent microphone preamp. That's the type of microphone preamp that is built into your typical home studio audio interface. And I want to modify that signal so that it is close to or equal to a high-end studio, because they have really cool equipment that we don't have. And the old school part is that we're going to record to virtual tape machines in the end. So let's get started with the track and how I normally do things. Now, I've left this plugin on here. Normally I don't use the plugin. Normally I use the standalone iZotope RX6, but I left it here because yes, the first part is noise reduction and changing things like pop P's and mouth clicks, and if there's any clipping, which there shouldn't have been, but if there was clipping, now's the time to fix things. So that is step one. And if you look at this file in the properties, you can see that I modified it with iZotope RX back on January 24th, 2019. So after that's out of the way, which I'll get rid of the plugin so I don't need it, here's what I do. I can put this on all the tracks and then group them and run auto and then get this number. This number right here is the number that will equal approximately 0 VU, but without the peaks going over -8 decibels. And I want -8 because I think that that is plenty of headroom for what I do next. Because if I let it go to like -6, then it might be too much for bigger mixes. But -8 is a pretty good number. It allows for boost during equalization and things like that. So another way to do it, this is where I simulate if I actually had the recording gear in my home studio to record with. I find the loudest part of the track. Now, what I did is I expanded the width of the track by going down to here. The arrow turns into a double arrow that's vertical, and I made it as large as I can. And then the second step is to hold the shift key and then hold the up arrow until the largest waveform, and these are called waveforms, the largest waveform extends to either the top or the bottom. And stop doing it. There we go. All right. So my loudest waveform will probably be this, or let's scroll around. So it's going to be either this one or possibly this one. So what I'm going to do is start in a quieter section. I'm going to hit the auto button. That enables the automatic gain staging, which is what I'm about to do right here. I'm going to hit play and let it play to the end. Actually, I have to clear this off and turn it on first of all.
I'm just taking life and I hit the road. There's nothing you can do to save my heart anyway, so just leave the pieces where you go. Leave the pieces where you go. Leave the pieces where you go.
All right. So the number we got was 3.4 decibels. That's a positive number. So I'm going to disable the plugin now. And now I could just use it, but I prefer these days to use purest gain. And so I'm going to hold control and move the slider to a little bit under 3.4. All right. So next up, I can try this and compare it before and after. I like this plugin because number one, it's a freebie. Number two, it works and the GUI can be made quite large. So I'll play this on this section right now. Actually, I'll just play it again and we'll see how the needle moves. Okay, perfect. I think it's exactly what I wanted to see. So at this point, I can turn this plugin off. I'm going to leave purest gain on. I can delete the Hornet VU meter Mark III and also delete this. So my next plugin, now it's not 100% necessary, but I have this on here because yes, sometimes I use it. Not this plugin, but other ones that can modify the way the microphone sounds. And basically all it does is it does a little bit of EQing, maybe a little bit of phasing, maybe a little bit of, I don't know what, maybe a little bit of compression perhaps, a tiny bit. But what it does is it just changes the way it sounds. Now, in this plugin, the way it works is you choose your source. And yeah, they added the MEMS microphone. That's pretty cool. So I actually do have this microphone, but let's see. I would say the closest thing would be this one, and then I can change it to whatever I want. So I'm going to start from the beginning actually, and because it's going to have that noise, I'm going to have to play around this. So I'm going to wait for the noise and then play it. And I'm just going to hit this button and go through so you guys can hear it. That's so f***ing annoying. But whatever. You. And what I try to do is close my eyes and just click this button to flip through these because I don't want to have my judgment impaired by a picture or a name. So you guys understand what I'm going for. This is a good starting point. You don't absolutely need it, but I wanted to throw the option in there anyway because it could be useful to get where you want to go a lot quicker. So after you choose your microphone, again, you don't need to use any of these plugins, but they're useful in some cases. I like to use a clean equalizer. And one of my favorites is TDR Nova because it has dynamic equalization if I want to use it. It also has a very nice sounding filter, and overall it's just a cool little plugin to have. There's also the Gentleman's Edition. I use the free standard edition, and I have heard that it's better because it has a look ahead function, which this one doesn't have. And if you have a stereo source, don't forget to change this to stereo. And I think by default, it's on Precision Plus, which does use a little bit more CPU, but that's the way it goes. And basically, I'm looking to, again, cut the low end for basically everything except for the kick drum and the bass guitar. And actually on bass, I'll just drop it down to about 40 hertz because at that point, our lowest note is 40 hertz. And you're still going to have some frequencies a little bit below that. So it's a good idea, in my opinion, to hit it at 40 hertz. For kick drum, I usually go down to 30 hertz. And that's because at that point, any information below that is, to me, useless. Now, I know some people are like, oh, I can hear it on my speakers. Well, most people can't. And really, the bass frequencies I care about are above 30 hertz. So, after the clean EQ does its thing, I move on to character EQ. So, the clean EQ I use for cuts. And that's pretty much it. The character EQ, this is where I do my boost. So what I'm going to do is actually remove this and keep the high pass filter on. Move that to about 75. And then on my boost, I'm going to listen to it and apply the EQ how I think I should apply it. Just like I normally would, right? So actually, I'm going to go back and cut with Nova. I should say that one of the tricks to do when you're EQing anything is to do what's called a frequency sweep. I've talked about this in another video, which I'll link to in the upper right corner. And basically what you do is you change your bandwidth or your Q factor so that it's a little bit more narrow than by default. And I'm going to boost the signal about maybe 9 decibels. And what I'm going to do is slowly move this frequency knob until I get to the point where I think it sounds really, really bad. And at that point, that's where I cut. And what I'll do is I'll slowly go down with the cut. Let me just show you. So right now I'm going to do the frequency sweep.